exhausted, frustrated, drowning under a mountain of unfolded clothes. I was sinking into resentment when he walked in late again. Without even glancing up from the laundry, the words slipped out. "You're not my love anymore. You're just a man I share parenting with." The silence that followed was thick, long enough to know I'd crossed a line, but too brief to pull the words back. If you've ever said something in anger just to make someone feel you're hurt, this might hit home. Stay with me. It still stings to remember. We hadn't always been so distant. In the beginning, he was my anchor, the one who steadied my chaos. Where I faltered, he stood firm. Where I doubted, he believed. Our daughter came quickly. Not a surprise, but sooner than expected. Parenthood didn't break us, but buried us under endless responsibilities. We forgot who we were before the family came first. I began to see him not as a partner, but as a teammate, someone who changed diapers, grabbed groceries, took out the trash. He moved cautiously, afraid of overstepping, always exhausted, always unsure. And I grew bitter, my heart hardening day by day. One night, after putting our daughter to bed, I folded laundry in silence. He sat nearby, absorbed in his phone. We hadn't touched in weeks, hadn't really spoken in months. Then he broke the stillness. "Do you still care for me?" I froze, clutching a tiny dress, searching for words. A sharp laugh escaped me, not from humor, but because the question felt overdue. "I admire how great you are with her," I said. "But sometimes it feels like I'm just co-managing parenthood with a stranger." He didn't respond immediately. His eyes blinked slowly. Then he stood and walked toward the hall. I heard the faint, heart-wrenching scrape of a suitcase being pulled from the closet. He wasn't going to argue or beg. He had taken my words as truth and begun packing. I stood in the doorway, legs heavy, throat tight. "Hold on," I whispered. He paused only to zip the bag, then said quietly, "If that's how you see me, I won't stay where I'm not wanted as your partner." He moved past me, calm, quiet, hollow. That night, I slept on the sofa, not because I had to, but because our bed still carried a scent and it was too much to bear. In the morning, our daughter asked where he was. I said he was at her grandma's. Not entirely false, but the real reason was my harsh words. Days stretched into weeks. His messages were only about our daughter, short, polite, devoid of warmth. The man who once left long voicemails just to say he loved me now texted like I was a distant acquaintance. And I deserved it. I tried to explain it to friends. We were drifting apart already, I said. He stopped showing he cared. But deep down, I knew the truth. He had shown it all along. I just stopped seeing it. He made my coffee the way I liked it, even in our coldest moments. He massaged my shoulders when I ached. Even when I didn't acknowledge it, he called me darling until I flinched at the word. I pushed him away, piece by piece, until that night when I struck the final blow. I thought he would return, not immediately, but eventually after we both had space. But he didn't. A month later, he sent a link to a shared calendar for parenting schedules. No message, no attempt to talk, just logistics. When he dropped off our daughter for the first time, he didn't cross the threshold. He kissed her forehead, handed me her bag, and left. I wanted to shout, "Come in, fight for us." But I had already convinced him there was nothing left to fight for. That night, I sat on the kitchen floor, back against the fridge, crying like I had lost someone forever, because I had loved and vanished suddenly. It eroded slowly through silences, small slights, and one careless word too many. If you ever looked at someone you still loved and wondered how you pushed them so far, you know this pain. Weeks later, we sat in a mediator's office discussing custody, visits, and holidays. He wasn't angry. He seemed calm, and I hated it. Not because I wanted him to suffer, but because I saw he was free. Free from the woman who had made him feel small for trying. Free from the bitter version of me who chose pride over love. I was left with the title, single mother, and the memory of the night he quietly stopped being more than co-parent. Now, 6 months later, we text occasionally, mostly about our daughter. Sometimes he asks how I'm holding up, and I reply, "I'm okay, but I'm not." The words I used to wound him worked. The worst part, he believed them. If this story resonates, If you've ever used words to push someone away before they could hurt you, or replayed a phrase you wish you could take back, know you're not alone. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes you don't lose someone in an argument. You lose them in the silence that follows one piercing sentence. They don't leave in anger. They leave because they finally believe you never truly wanted them.